Hi, welcome and thank you for watching. This probably won't be the greatest explanation since I'm not the best at explaining things. First things first, where do you find the materials to make the base? I personally use Pinterest or Google. They tend to have the right pictures that I'm looking for. What do I look for exactly? I look for the official arts of the K and Y characters. You can see my speed paint taking apart the characters that I took screenshots of, and using specific parts of their bodies to create my own base. And trust me when I say that it helps a handful. I say that because it can be tough at times to make a base for your OCs, especially if you don't have any idea of what the uniforms, Howries, or Zori, that's the shoes that you see most of the time, really look like. I can say that I struggled quite a bit when I first tried drawing Naomi, my main OC. But anyways, I call this Frankensteining a base. I'm unsure if there are other names for it, hence why I say I call this instead of this is called. Here are some Frankenstein bases that I found on Pinterest with the accounts I found them with. Making these bases isn't limited to the canon characters. You can take pictures and trace over your own body to help you get your desired pose. You can also use characters from different animations. Obviously, they must be pretty and refined. I mean, look at this aesthetic base. It's gorgeous, I know. Anyways, this method works for the chibi art too. I've made one for the cream soda parlor art and it turned out pretty good. The next thing I do after I fix the Frankenstein base to the pose I want is to start with the guidelines. By guidelines, I mean trace over the base you've made. I use bright and easy to see colors. For the body and clothes, I use red. For the hair, I'll change the colors based on which layer the hair is, which is like 3 to 4 different colors. One for the bangs, another for the rear hair, then for the back hair. Depending on if I put a ponytail or not, I'll add a 4th layer. Oh, that reminds me, if you're having trouble coming up with a design for your OC, I would recommend using Gacha Life. The game can help you come up with fun designs. This helped me make all of my OCs. Anyways, while you're working on guidelines, make sure to double check you have everything where you want it. So when you move on to the line art portion, you won't be upset that you forgot something to the design of the OC. Don't pull a me and stare at a design choice, be fully aware of it, and then forget about it the moment you start drawing it. Beneath the guidelines, I would recommend using a color that is obvious to you as a way to figure out where to shade. Once you color in the line art, I wouldn't do that now though, since guidelines, or mine at least, can be a bit off and messy and aren't really meant to be the final product of the line art. Once you've finished the guidelines and double-checked if you're anything like me, you can add a new layer and start on the line art. If you want to match the K and Y art style, I would recommend using black. Of course, not all of the lines of the K and Y art style will be black. Sometimes, from what I've seen, in the chibi art, the lines will be a color close to what it's outlining. I don't think I've seen anything like that in the regular style though, so we're good. I do think the black outline can vary depending on the lighting. I would look at some of Mitsuri's scenes and check it just in case, because they look a little pink to me. Just like for the guidelines, I would make sure you have everything fully outlined. If you find some spots that aren't as smooth as the other spots, try to fix them. Take your time and bring it to what you call perfect. Once you finish your outlines, go find the areas where it curves and thicken the line depending on how sharp it turns. If it's a slight curve, make it only a little thicker. If it's a sharp turn, make it noticeably thicker. It helps match the K and Y art style. If you have any scars on your OC, scratches, burns, etc., go off of this. Scratches in K and Y will usually be jagged and have more of a zigzag type of appearance. Make that zigzag until both the bottom and top of the lines connect and then thin out the line. Make sure to go clean through the line and that they're thin enough to be made aware of, but not too thin to the point you can't tell to make it darker. If that made sense. For a burn scar, make its outline and then thin out some of the line and erase a good amount of it. It would kind of look like Naomi's here.
I don't have the image of it, bro. What the heck? Why do I have my speed paints, but not the final piece? I hate everything.
Anyways, once you have everything. For the outline finished, you can move on to the bestest, more perfect and amazing part of the art. I love coloring. Whenever I start coloring in my art, I usually take multiple layers so I don't mess up anything on another layer when I get outside the lines.
about 12 layers or more.
Sorry, I had a voice crack. Make sure for the scars, if you have any on the OC, you make them a little darker to show the healed skin. Not everything on your OC has to be singled out to a specific color. You can do something like Lyra, my OC in the first speed paint. A diverse color palette suits her because of her breathing style, palette breathing. That's going to be hell if I ever draw out the forms that I haven't made yet. Anyways, once you have all the colors in place where you want them to be, you can start working on shading them. If you use the little shading trick I recommended earlier, you can turn the opacity down and start shading off of that. If you do a gradient anywhere on the OC, I would recommend using the clipping feature so you don't have to worry about messing up the shading. Also, make sure the lighting makes sense. I tend to put shade anywhere and it makes the lighting look way off.
Now onto the dreaded personality. When deciding the personality of your OC, make sure it isn't anything like Mia Rengoku or Emily Kacha, bro. Please, those ones are so stupid. I can't.
Anyways, when making the personality, don't make it to where it's all good traits. It's literally impossible for anybody to be clean of bad traits, even out the good and bad traits. Naomi is outwardly cocky and tends to taunt and argue with her co-workers because she's a girl boss. I'm kidding. She's coping, guys. Despite her bad traits being her main show, she expresses kindness towards those she's close with, those people being her best friends and the 2 men she loved that died. Imagine losing the dude you loved and then finding someone else and they meet the same fate. And then you meet that fate too, but you go to hell for turning into a demon. Anyways, enough bashing my OC. But yeah, give them something unique to their personality and it really makes sense for them. They can be outwardly kinda and caring, but when nobody is around, they are a bad person. They could be completely careless but enjoys helping others at times. Stuff like that. Now for the breathing style. I would say keep it real. I'm not saying you can't have a breathing style with a ridiculous name like unicorn breathing or something like that because we have love breathing. I'm talking about its forms. You should see what meets sorry Ned the forms, it's so funny. But I'm trying to say don't make it too powerful with too many forms. I'd say 11 to 12 is the max for a normal style, IDK. All I know is that sun breathing is likely unbeatable in terms of power. A breathing style can reflect your OC's abilities in battle. For Naomi, ocean breath shows her fluidity and takes advantage of the power in her legs. That's what I'm talking about. That's all I can really think of to explain. I'm not sure how many people will actually see this. But if you need help on anything, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll try to answer the best I can if somebody hasn't already beaten me to it. Enjoy the rest of this base being made.